Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining New Jersey Wedding Podcast, your podcast for planning your wedding in New Jersey. And be sure and hit that follow and subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. And thank you for joining us. We are Andrea Pertel and Celia Milton, and we are both professional wedding officiants here in the state of New Jersey. And how's it going with you today, Celia?
Yeah, we're recording this on a Sunday, and it's a gorgeous, beautiful, fabulous Sunday in New Jersey. I know you have a wedding. I am kind of wondering if I'm missing one, to tell you the truth.
I have a little elopement out in Tom's River this evening. But we're both just coming off a Saturday full of ceremonies, which
Lots
was
of
a
great
lot of,
weddings. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it
Well,
was a
and we,
great weekend. It turned out really
oh my God,
great.
it was beautiful, wasn't it? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
yes.
so
And
great.
my ceremonies, as yours were just lovely. I couldn't be happy or more happy. What I should be able to speak. I'm an officiant of how they turned out. They were really great.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a great weekend. I had a beautiful, beautiful little micro wedding yesterday, of like 40 people, and the weather I think has really been helpful. Has been a helpful character the last week. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to talk about. I always get this in the wrong order. DIY, do
Do it
it yourself.
yourself.
I
Yeah,
always
I
want to
always
put
have
the
to do
Y in there, and then it's, oh, wait a minute.
DIY.
And you know what?
DIY.
There's there's a lot of ways that, and it's funny because I had a weekend a few weeks ago where both of my weddings, they were in like traditional venues, but they chose to do parts of it themselves for very realistic and logical reasons. And I
Yes.
think that's a good way of thinking about, like, all right, what do we actually want to do, and what are we actually capable of doing? I think that's like a good kind of first place to start, right?
Exactly. I've seen it done. In fact, I'm wondering if more venues are offering kind of a do-it-yourself option for things because I have been at venues like 618 once where the couple was setting up everything themselves. And I know one of my favorite places is the Raritan Inn Bed and
Oh yeah,
Breakfast.
that's
They have
so
that big
cute.
barn, and
Yeah.
some couples you can hire somebody to come and do it and transform it to your vision, as they
Mhm.
say. So you can hire someone to come in and do that. There's lots of great places, or you can do it yourself. And I've seen it go really, really good. And I've also seen extremely stressed out brides where
Yes.
they've just bitten off more than they can chew, and their
Mhm.
bridesmaids or everybody's scrambling. And I think one of the keys to do it yourself for a lot of these venues, if you're able to, if you've rented out the barn or the VFW or, whatever, your backyard or something,
Yeah,
is to
historic
set it
sites.
up
Yeah.
the night before, having access to it the night before. So the one that I saw that went really well was the one at the Raritan Inn, but they had access to it the evening before, and they kind of
Mhm.
made a party out of it with their bridal party and their close friends and family, and they had food brought in, catered in for it, and everybody just had so much fun decorating.
Yeah. It depends on the venue. And, I think it's also good to gauge your enthusiasm. And if you're expecting your wedding party to help you with things, what is their enthusiasm for actually doing this? Things that you can do ahead, like maybe doing your invitations and putting them together, hand coloring them, sticking in the envelopes. That's great because that can be done months ahead of time, even if you're going to mail them out on the right time frame, but you can do that like far ahead.
Right.
um you can do things like if you're doing silk flowers or wooden flowers or something like that, you can do that far ahead, but you do not want to be doing things that you need to do that week.
Right. You don't want day of, you don't want to be doing that. You don't want to
No,
be
nobody
doing the
wants to be doing that.
tablescapes or putting out fresh flowers. And
Nope.
and I and then we also talk about well, first of all, you don't want everybody's getting their hair and makeup done. Where are they going
Right.
to have time to set up?
They're not, and they shouldn't have to. And even more important than that is they are not going to clean up for you because they
Exactly.
have been through an entire party. You can hire a service, and most of your venues, if you're hiring something like an ambulance corps or a women's club or, one of those kind of, real hands-on places, which are a lot of them are really adorable, but
Right,
they're going
right.
to expect you to leave it the way you found it. And your friends, after an entire day of setting up and partying, they are not take it from me. I did this. I would never do it again. I get married again, but I would never do that again. They are
Right.
not they are not going to be broom cleaning the floors and taking the trash out. They're just not.
Right. Right. Because we have a very nice women's club here in Point Pleasant Beach that people will rent out for
Yeah.
weddings, events, receptions, and uh, cleaning up at the end just isn't happening. And I'm
No one
sure that
wants to
they
do that.
offer that service or have outside people that you can hire. And even when you think of the simple things like we talk about, you can save money by having your own bar and you provide the
Yeah.
alcohol. And you can just keep it to the beer and wine and maybe one or two
Yeah, like a drink or a
signature
punch or
drinks.
something. Yeah.
But when that bar closes down, you have to all the leftover liquor, you have to
Yeah.
box it up and put it in the trunk of your car or something. You
Yeah.
you have to kind of have people to do that for you because after your wedding, you don't want to do that, right? And
I think
your
yeah.
parents, your mom doesn't want to, your maid of
No, your
honor,
mom does definitely
no,
not
they've
want to do
already
this.
been drinking and eating all night. So you have to kind of have a plan, you
Well, I
know.
think, people like really underestimate the amount of trash that a wedding can produce. And somebody has to deal with it. And you know what? I feel like the best kind of way to DIY things are to pick out things that you're good at already. It's like you shouldn't be trying to like figure out from a YouTube video how to bake your 4-layer wedding cake and then transport it to the venue. And it's just not a good use of time and energy. Yeah, maybe you're going to do the centerpieces. A lot of centerpieces are very simple. They're a lantern, surrounded by eucalyptus and mercury lights, and you're good to go. But
Right.
somebody still has to put them all together, fill the vases with water, light the candles, and your venue is probably not going to do that for you.
Right.
Definitely, if you're like in a, an off-premise venue like a historic site or a women's club, they're probably, here's your keys, have a great time. That is the extent to the help that you're going to get from them. It's not a bad thing to say. It's just kind of the way it is.
Right.
That's where you need a day of planner. Shameless
Right.
plug for our day of planners.
Yes, absolutely. If you've decided to do the DIY route, I think a day of planner is so essential. And I was at a venue this weekend that it's beautiful. They have some oceanfront. We had the ceremony on the beach, but
Oh, that was pretty. Yeah.
it's just their space. So, I'm well versed. I got everybody lined up so I could wear that hat. But, we started quite a bit late. Like I want to say 40 minutes late because, right up until 10 minutes before we were supposed to start, the bride and two of her friends were doing tablescapes and ceremony area and looking for this tablecloth and da da da. And she had there are no attendants. It's not that the place failed her, it's that she didn't they don't offer that. And
No, they don't.
so that was in the price. And I know budgets are real, and so you pick that, but um this bride looked exhausted by the time she made it down the aisle,
I
and
know.
she couldn't find her bouquet, because there was no attendant or place. Usually you would have like maybe a vase or a glass of water to set it in until your time, but they didn't
Mm,
have that. It was just the rental of the space. And yeah, it got a little frantic there for her, and I felt bad for her for a while. Of course, by the time we gotten into the ceremony, we just made it perfect, and I'm sure when they got out and got to eat and that it was fine, but you could avoid some of that stress with a planner, or picking a venue that allows you to set up a lot of stuff
yeah.
the evening
Everything that you're going
before.
to do, everything you want to do is going to take 4 times as long as you think.
Mhm.
And it's going to cost twice as much as you thought.
And
And I've done, it's funny, we started talking about this because I've had a bunch of weddings recently that had a selective element of the wedding be a do-it-yourself thing. And the one I one of them was a couple that met. They're both in bands, and they met at a convention for bands, and that's how they got together. And they had their band play. They didn't play the whole wedding, and they did a set after the first dance, which was done by like their DJ. But it was really sweet, and their friends loved it. I mean, that's a situation where doing it yourself makes perfect sense, because what you're doing yourself it strengthens the connection between you and those guests. It was absolutely perfect, and they weren't going to do it all night. I had another one a couple weeks ago where the mom is part of a florist company, and they did it was fabulous. It was like a tiki theme party. It was all like tropical flowers. It was
Mm,
wonderful.
love
But
it. Yeah.
they had, mom designed everything, but mom wasn't like physically filling up the vases and cutting the thorns off the flowers. I think, people who don't really do this for a living, not to say this is not a comment about that mom, but people who think, well, this is a great idea. I'm going to have, our friends do all this. You have no idea how long this is going to take.
Right.
Really. And you don't have your friend who makes a great birthday cake make your 4-tier wedding cake that now great, it looks great in the kitchen. How are you going to get it 20 miles away to the venue? These are
Exactly.
things
And
that like
set
people
it
don't
up
think
and keep
about.
it. And saying that, there are things you don't think about. And when we speak to our wedding planners, and we've interviewed several great
Lots of them,
ones,
yeah. Great ones.
really great ones that I
Yeah,
enjoy working with. But it is the experience, that kind of that on the job, like that experience that they bring. There are things you don't know you need. Oh, you might know you should bring a Tide stick or things like that, but
right,
there are things you don't know you need until you're there. There's no
right,
way of knowing it until you're there and you're not prepared for it. Like I just mentioned, the bouquet. So you and your 4 bridesmaids, you get to this empty place, and you have your bouquets. You need to have that thing of water to stick them in until you need
right.
them for the ceremony, or you need, all those little things that a planner
Yeah,
has done over and over again and anticipates you need. So therefore, it's not an emergency or a stressful situation. Oh, we need that. Great. Yeah,
yeah,
I have that. I have it ready to
yeah.
go. Not a problem,
Yeah.
right?
You
And
need camp.
I think also the little things, because you're so busy during the ceremony, although I say don't, you need to take your time. You and your new wife or husband need to sit and eat together and this and that. But I always love it when the planner at the end of the night has a to go container of food and a
Mm,
to go container of your cake, knowing that you didn't get to eat that much,
you didn't get to eat. I know. It's crazy though. There's so many details. It's like, do you have a unity candle? Well, do you have a big red barbecue lighter, or do you have a nice little votive candle that is going to look great in your pictures?
Right.
It's just like little tiny things. Does
And what
somebody
are
know?
you doing with
Yeah,
those tablescapes at the end of the night?
yeah, who's going to pick them up and listen? I did on for my wedding, we did moss plantings directly on the tables with like bedding plants and I mean, I'm sure the rental company was thrilled when they got those tablecloths back. But I mean, everything took like way longer than we thought. And everything is going to take anybody who's doing this longer than you think.
Yeah.
And the less you can do on that day, because at some point, I mean, I was decorating my wedding cake in my wedding gown with like a chef's coat over it, because it's like somebody's got to decorate it. Well, I guess that would be that. There's no somebody in a do-it-yourself wedding. The somebody is you.
Want to get married without the stress of a big wedding? Looking for a ceremony that's all about the two of you? Or maybe you just can't wait to say I do. New Jersey Elope can make your dream of an intimate and unforgettable wedding day a reality. Picture this: exchanging vows with the sand between your toes on a beautiful beach, saying I do surrounded by nature in a serene park, or celebrating your love under the elegant arch in my cozy office. So, whether you crave the coastal breeze, the charm of the outdoors, or a private, hassle free setting, we have the perfect elopement ceremony for you. Visit NewJerseyElope.com and start planning your dream wedding today. New Jersey Elope, where your love story begins. Now you've become the checklist person. Did
Right.
were enough bouquets dropped off, enough boutonnieres dropped off? Because it happens. There'll be one
Oh
short or
yeah.
this short or the roses for the honoring the moms. Where are they?
They're
Um,
never there.
so
They're
now you
always
have
gone.
you have to be the person with the right, you have to be the person with the clipboard checking in. Oh, okay. So we were supposed to have 6 boutonnieres, one extra just in case. We were supposed to have this many bouquets
Yeah.
or this type of thing. So you become like that check-in person. So I don't want to talk against DIY because some people love that, but the organization and the reality of it, you just have to be prepared for it.
I
Really
think that
prepared.
I think that the key to that is like knowing that on that day you want to go there. And I had a wedding. I had a wedding last week where the makeup people showed up at 3 o'clock in the morning. If you got a morning wedding, you're
Oh,
gonna
you're
be you
exhausted.
don't have time to
Right.
put water in the votive candles.
Right.
You just don't. So, I
So,
honestly, in that case, just hiring a day of person who's actually a month of person, they're
yeah,
going to figure out the things
manager.
that you don't like. Did you bring your license? Does your
Yeah.
friend have a black pen to sign it?
Yeah.
It's like that little stuff that makes everybody insane. You can have 3 people looking for a boutonniere pin because like somebody didn't like bring enough of them.
Right.
It's crazy. The smallest things can completely derail that day, and that's where you need help.
So I think the best alternative is instead of doing all DIY, if you want to be involved in that way, as you said, pick out the things that you really love to do
Right.
or it makes you happy. So if you want to do the tablescape, and as long as it's not fresh flowers in there, you're doing the lantern and this and that, and that's a good budget saving
Yeah, it is.
thing, especially if you're doing in a barn and you don't need that giant elegant flower arrangement in the middle. You're doing like the lantern and stuff. Well, you can do that. You can do the signage.
Hmm.
You can do you make your list and you say, oh, this is all this stuff I can do in advance. And I'm going to have fun with my friends making these, getting out the Mod Podge, making the
Yeah,
centerpieces and
yeah.
doing that ahead of time and making these beautiful signage because I know how to do that type of writing, calligraphy and all of that, right?
And you can do it ahead of time.
Do it
Anything you
ahead
can
of
do
time.
ahead is fine. I mean, it's still going to take you 4 times as long as you thought, but at
Right.
least you're not on a time frame.
Right. As long as it's not day of, and then have the plan, especially for the cleanup afterwards.
Oh
And
my
not
God,
just the
yeah.
cleanup. It's like the tablescapes and the leftover alcohol and the leftover food, the leftover this and that. What are we doing with it? Because everybody looks to you and says, what are we doing with these chafing dishes and that are still filled with some food or,
Yeah.
the plants that were up the aisle, or
Yeah, nobody wants to. Nobody wants to deal with that at the end of the night. I'm
yeah,
telling you. They
you
just
need a
don't.
plan in place for that. And that therefore you can enjoy your beautiful day and
Yeah.
you can look great in your pictures and
Not be covered with tomato sauce. Yeah.
right. Right.
Or fried rice.
Yeah. I mean, I could see making the baskets for the bathrooms ahead of time,
Yeah, of
like
course.
the week before. I'm going to make that and put that in. Those are some fun things that can help you with your budget.
And signing invitations, just anything that you don't have to do that's on that time frame for the last 3 days is, probably doable. But, I think we all need to realize that like there are things that we're just not good at. You are not going to get miraculously great at calligraphy just because you want to be. You're not. And you're going to spend more money on ruined invitations than you will on a calligrapher. So I think there's like a time versus value versus anxiety versus like, I don't know, Xanax. Like that's all in the equation.
And we do give recommendations sometimes. I think it doesn't hurt to go on local Facebook pages. There'll be one for your county and stuff where brides and grooms sell their stuff
Oh
for
yeah,
their wedding. And
totally.
if you're looking, if it's a budget thing, you can really find some good stuff there.
There's
Their
some great stuff.
tablescapes, it'll be like, I have 10 lanterns and they'll be half priced, or arches and things like that.
I totally recommend that. Here's like a shameless plug for Recycle Your New Jersey Wedding, Recycle Your North Jersey Wedding, sites that, I mean, I own them, but it doesn't mean like anything happens for me. It's just a place for people to, and people have on there like every week there's like 500 votive candles and giant tube vases and wood flowers. It's like definitely that is a great way to, and those cute signs, and every once in a while there's like a fabulous wedding dress or some beautiful wedding shoes. Yeah,
Right.
it makes a lot
Exactly.
of sense. A lot of sense.
Yes, or that they'll have the sparklers that they didn't use. We bought 100
Yeah,
to go away, but we only use this many, or a lot of that stuff. And not, not only is it budget friendly to you to be able to find that, but the less garbage we make in this
right.
world, why not use it, right?
I like it. I
Good
love
for
it.
the environment.
No, well, it definitely is a money saving thing for sure. And you help somebody else get rid of like something that they can't use anymore.
Right, right. So, all right. Um, well, thank you guys for joining us. And, as always, we love to hear from you. So, let us know about your DIY and if you did it, and what advice do you have for brides and grooms that are thinking of doing a DIY wedding? We'd love to hear from you. Email us or message us on our social media pages. They are all New Jersey Wedding Podcast. And of course, we have a contact form on our website, New Jersey Wedding Podcast. And we never give out names or email addresses. We just pass on your advice. Or if you have a question, ask us a question. We are happy to answer it.
We'll try.
Thank you for joining us today.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye. This podcast is brought to you by New Jersey wedding officiant Andrea Pertel, owner of For This Joyous Occasion Officiating Services.
And Celia Milton, owner of NJ Vows Now, also New Jersey wedding officiating services. We're up in North Jersey, and Andrea is down in Central and South Jersey. So together we cover the whole state, don't we?
Yes, yes.